for years, but now since his passing, wouldn't it make an interesting movie or docudrama of the Telford Hotel and what happened in that whole history to retell Chuck's story?
Oh, absolutely. Not only needed, that is a fabulous idea. A documentary, absolutely.
I think so.
Let me know what I can do to help you out there.
I appreciate that. And, it's factual. You couldn't make the stuff up. I mean, you just really couldn't with the UAW and, all those players and Pat Choate, running for vice president from there and just the big players. Chuck was a big deal. He spoke truth to power. And when you do that, look at Glenn Beck. Look what happened to him.
Yes, that's right. Exactly right. Exactly.
When you call people out on the carpet, they don't like it very much.
But one thing about Chuck is he was never, ever, ever afraid of those storms.
No.
God knows.
He fought.
He fought. You know what? He learned how to sail his ship around and through them and always keep on going. I will always love Chuck Harder.
And he will not soon be forgotten. Some people, you're like, good riddance. Chuck, the world lost a great mind, a great heart, a great man who not only enjoyed talk radio, but the man, Chuck Harder, loved his family and his friends. And I am missing him greatly today.
I know you are, Keith. And you are in my heart. His family, all of his radio family, all are in my prayers, but he has fallen asleep in the Lord, but he'll always live in my memory, in my heart.
Amen.
Eternally.
Thank you, my brother. Phil Paleologos. Phil, where can people listen to you? What's the web address so people can tune you in and listen to you in the mornings?
Well, I'm on WB as in boy, S as in Sam, M as in Michael, radio. That's 1420, so you can go to WBSM.com, and you can listen to us live. We stream 24 hours. It would be a pleasure to hear from anyone who's tuned in now, and you call in too any time.
I will.
You're right. We are brothers.
I'll do that.
I have so much admiration, and you're always in my heart. You know what I'm going to do? Go out and get a Moxie. I'm going to drink a Moxie.
A Moxie for Chuck.
You got it.
All right. Phil Paleologos, ladies and gentlemen, WBSM.com. And, gosh, what a amazing guy himself. I can't say enough about Phil and his contribution of just being there for Chuck and being a good friend to Chuck. It wasn't just a colleague, of somebody that just went through the role of just being on the radio because he got paid to be on the radio. They became friends and confidant, and Chuck was going through some real tough times. And it's just, to me, a beautiful thing that there's people there at the end of your life that remember you that fondly and that enthusiastically. And to me, it means that he did fight the good fight. He spent a lot of money countering the powers that wanted him off the air, and but he never forgot his family. He never forgot his listeners and his supporters that really did help him remain on the air, because he was a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. Not until the Clintons said that, if he didn't restructure, because he did influence, because the power of the microphone with the stations. Now you think, Chuck was on 300 and plus stations and 60 cable outlets. Well, you got Sean Hannity these days now, 575 stations. You don't think that Sean Hannity has any influence? The Clintons did a bad thing to Chuck. They really, you don't talk about an abuse of power. They made him broke. People ask, what happened to all that money that Chuck made from the Telford Hotel and the deal with the UAW? Well, there you go. Legal fees. Staying alive. His animals probably ate half his fortune. That's the kind of people that the Harders were. Chuck and Diane went home to be with the Lord. Diane passed, a little over a year ago, and then Chuck just several days ago. And he will be very, very missed. We got another hour for some of you stations that are going to be hanging on. If not, you can listen to it online at forthepeopleshow.com. We have other guests that are going to be coming on if you're going to hang on and listen in to more great guests and a legend in talk radio himself, Ted Webb from 970 WFLA, who actually worked in the same building as Chuck, will be joining us on the second hour of our tribute for Chuck Harder, so I hope you'll stick around for that. I appreciate you joining us, and please share this hour online to as many people as possible, because people are still learning and will learn in the coming days and months and even years that Chuck passed away. But he did, and died at age 74, and we will miss him. We will hear his voice. I have some broadcasts we'll listen to, little snippets here and there, and also some guests. Kay Reitz is going to be joining us as well, and Sam Bushman from Liberty News Network, great friends with Chuck, got into talk radio because of Chuck as well. Don't forget, For the People still on the air, and we do a weekend edition broadcast, and stations carry it all around the country, and we are listener supported. Your donations keep us on the air, and we appreciate that. Keith Allen, For the People, saying all the best. May God bless. All right, hang out, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to reestablish our broadcast. We're going to do a second hour, so we're just going to stop that there and just relaunch. How about that?
From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, For the People is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this weekend edition of For the People. We're broadcasting live on a Friday because this is a special tribute broadcast, and we've heard from several people already from hour number one. Stanton Freeman, a noted ufologist and a physicist there in Canada, and it was just really neat hearing from him. We just heard from Phil Paleologos, who was the host For the People, co-host, if you will, with Chuck in the 90s for many years, and man, that was just a blessing to have Phil on. And we got Kay Reitz, another powerful mind who produced for Chuck Harder for many years from the Telford Hotel, joins us from Wisconsin. Kay, when I told you the sad news about Chuck's passing, I know your heart sank just like most people listening to the broadcast today, but Chuck really had an influence on you, didn't he?
Oh, you bet he did. I'll tell you something. Today is a pretty emotional day for me. Really opened up my memory bank, and like to paraphrase Chuck, it's going wacky doodle today.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I'm just not in my right mind. I mean, I'm not just nuts or anything like that, but I'm just off kilter. You know, it's just we wouldn't be doing this radio show if it wasn't for Chuck.
Keith, we've gone back a long way with this, and I always enjoy hearing from you, and I love your radio show. And I got to tell you, when I got that phone call the other night, and I looked at my caller ID and I saw it was you, I was really excited.
Aww.
And I thought, oh, cool, Keith's got something going on here. And boy, I'll tell you, it was like the wind going right out of my balloon when you told me that Chuck passed.
Yeah,
that was bad.
Yeah, even though you know that Chuck wasn't doing well, but he was hanging in there. And we were hopeful. At least he was hanging in there, and he was reasonably good spirits. And it was nice to just be able to simply get in the car and be able to come, go down and a couple hours, north and spend a little time with him. But now I can't do that. It's very odd.
Well, we were actually Tom and I were really blessed last year. We did take a trip down to Florida, and we were able to go over to the nursing home and spend some time with Chuck. And I'll tell you, I am so happy that the good Lord gave us that opportunity to go and spend a little bit more time with him. I'll never forget that. That's something that'll stay with me forever. He was so happy to see us when we walked in. He's like, "Tom and Kay, are you here from Wisconsin?"
Wow. Well, he loved you guys.
It was precious.
So you guys
So
are.
we loved him, I'll tell you.
Well, he said you guys were salt of the earth kind of people. And
Well, we were real people, just like Chuck Harder. And you know, Keith, all the years that I produced his show, I was thinking about this kind of this morning, reflecting on a lot of stuff. And you know what really, really amazed me about Chuck is the fact that, you know, we had 6 lines coming into the Telford Hotel with people calling in 5 days a week, you know, for 3 hours a day on all different subjects, topics, and Chuck never missed a beat. He could go from line 1 to line 6 and talk on another topic without even missing a beat. And
You're right.
I was always just, you know, it was so amazing to me. How can this man do that?
The master at work. It was like watching Beethoven, you know, or you know, Picasso paint Starry Night.
And
yeah.
the ideas he would come up with, you know, for show ideas that I would have to research and, you know, get information on and do all the research. And he was pretty adamant about, you know, making sure that the information I'm getting that he's going to be putting out is really factual. You know, he was such a stickler for that, to make sure what you're telling me is what's
Is
right.
accurate. Right.
And it was just amazing. I'll tell you, I learned so much over my lifetime from Chuck Harder, and I take a lot of the knowledge that I learned from him, and I still take it and use it with people. I worked in the political arena, you know, for many, 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 many years, and a lot of the work that I did there, I was able to do just because of Chuck Harder and the knowledge that he gave me.
Well, remember the what, who, why, where, what, who, what, why, where, and when. The 5
Yes.
W's of journalism, and that's the way he did his show. I mean, he wanted it right. He wanted it legitimate. He didn't want anybody to call on him and say he was wrong about it. And if he didn't know about something, I was telling Phil this, you remember it well, somebody would call in live on the air and he didn't know, he would say, "I don't know, but I'll find out."
Yep, exactly.
A lot of hosts won't do that.
Kay Reitz.
A lot of hosts will make
Got a
pretend.
job for you.
They'll make pretend that they know something and they'll skirt around it. But, you know, Chuck, if he didn't really know something, he'd research it. Yeah, he'd put you on the job and you'd find it. And, you know, back then we were talking about the internet really more or less was in its infancy. And so you relied on the Associated Press, the wire services, and newspapers and magazines and a lot of phone calls from a lot of sources.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where I said, Keith, I learned so much in the producing of Chuck's show and, you know, all the topics, the different topics that he did talk on, you know, everything that I had to go through to learn to help him do his show is just amazing. And I do want to say it was so good to hear Stanton on there this morning and Phil. Oh, my God, Phil. I remember we would watch the NBA and I was walking with Sam Bushman, who had his blind dog, his dog for his blindness with him, and I tripped over the curb and cracked a couple ribs. And
I remember that. Gosh, how time really flies. We're talking, folks, vintage 90s, okay?
Back in the 90s.
The 90s, yeah. And just to think, here it is, 2018, 20-something years, past, but... You know, some things are timeless.
When you say Phil and you say Sam Bushman and those memories pop in your head so fast.
Thank God for the memories, you know.
Yes.
Frank Sinatra, thank God. But Chuck really gave us hours and hours of provocative, thoughtful, caring talk radio. He was very self-deprecating. He would say something like, well, when I met him officially in the 90s, in 1995, flashback, 1995, in the lobby of the Telford Hotel, Chuck was sitting, and I believe you may have been there, but anyway, got in, and he puts his hand out and extends his arm, and he said, "Hi, I'm Chuck Harder. I'm a beach ball with legs." That's how he introduced himself.
That was Chuck. That was Chuck.
That was Chuck. I'm a beach ball.